It's always surprising what you can do with recycled timber. Old fence palings and scrap wood can be a feature of your house and a real talking point. And what's more, you can have something that's expensive to buy for free. Well, almost for free. Who's counting glues and screws? Now, in this kitchen, I think the perfect project is a butcher's block. It's a useful add-on and easy on the eye too. The timber that I'm using for this butcher's block is some Oregon. The good thing about that is you can find it in most old houses. I picked this up from a house that just got demolished. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is dress this timber up with a planer, but you need to make sure that you go through and remove any old nails, otherwise you do a lot of damage to your planer. And the other great thing about Oregon is these amazing colours you get out of the timber. For the top, I'm cutting a heap of these little 100mm blocks. So the end product will go together like so, and you'll see the end grain of all these blocks. That means I've got a lot of cutting to do. All right, that was a mission. We're ready to glue these blocks up. Now, there's a few tips that you need to remember before we start. I've just got some black plastic here. I'm going to put that over the workbench. That way, our workpiece doesn't get stuck to the workbench. And also, to apply the glue, I'm just using a paintbrush. That way, we get even coverage. Lucky last piece. Right, now it's all glued up. I'm just going to get some scrap timber, and I'm just going to clamp it up and wait for it all to dry. While the top's drying, I'll get on to making the frame, and I'm using Oregon for that too. The only difference is, instead of planing this timber down, I'm going to use a belt sander. Now, I'm using a 36 grit for the belt sander. I'll then change to the orbital sander, which has an 80 grit on that. I've just cut the legs to length using the drop saw. Then I'm doing a checkout at the top that the frame will sit around, and also at the bottom of the legs to hold the rails that will strengthen the whole thing. I'm using the circular saw to cut the 45-degree angles to make the perimeter of the frame. To put it together, it's just like a 3D jigsaw. Position the frame into the checkouts at the top of the legs. Glue and screw, then patch the rails at the bottom. All right, the top's dry. That means we can get on to dressing it. So I'm going to be using the belt sander to start off with the 36 grit sandpaper. So it's nice and coarse and to really get all these high spots off. Then I'm going to swap over to the orbital sander, which will have an 80 grit paper on it, and then I'll work my way up to a 120 grit. All right, you can see that it's all sanded up. So now I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to pre-drill some holes, my fixing holes. So you'll notice that everything in here is hidden fixings. So instead of bringing our screws in through the face here, I've come in through the back of the post, and I'm doing exactly the same for the top. So I'll do my clearance holes. All right, now I can sit the frame on our butcher's block, and then I can put the fixings in using 150 bugles, and that way you'll never see them. While I've got it upside down, I'm just adding these casters so you can move it around wherever you need to. And you can see these ones are pretty fancy. I'm putting a lockable one on each end and then just a standard one on the other legs. All right, now we're ready to put some oil on this. And obviously, because this is a butcher's board that's going to be in contact with food, you just want to make sure that you use a food-grade oil. Whew, this has some weight in it. Oh, how good is that? Gorgeous. Not me, the butcher's block. All done. Only one thing left to do. That's to get it in the kitchen. How bulky and rustic does this look? It looks fantastic. You can see that I've just added on these hooks and a shelf for extra storage. And the best part is I've saved all this timber from the landfill, but also I've saved cash, so that's a win-win.